With industry peers, I mean, really, I can't even say that. Like, I grew up looking up to him. He was ahead of me in the game. I'm kind of waiting for more details to come out because it's just a very disturbing report, just accidentally this. But I don't know. You kind of caught me at a loss for words and kind of reflecting on my own memories. Malcolm was like the first former child actor that my mother even let me go out with late at night past 11 p.m. And I had a very close relationship with both him and Michelle Thomas. May they both rest in peace. So please remember him as a poet, a Grammy Award-winning musician, and an actor who did a lot more than just star on a sitcom when he was a kid.
Nobody saw it coming. When the world found out about Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death, it didn't feel like just another sad headline. It felt different, quieter, heavier, and deeply personal. Maybe it's because he was a part of so many childhoods, or maybe it was because it happened so suddenly, with no warning. He wasn't just another actor on TV, he was Theo Huxtable, the smart, funny, warm older brother who made mistakes and learned from them.
On to the tragic death of beloved actor Malcolm-Jamal Warner, who authorities say drowned while on vacation with his family in Costa Rica.
The one who brought heart and truth to the screen. For a lot of people, he felt like family, and just like that ... He was gone. When the tribute started to pour in, fans from all over the world remembered their favorite Theo moments. Clips from old episodes of The Cosby Show made their way around social media. People posted things like, "He was the first time I saw someone who looked like me on screen." Others wrote,
"Like the real world."
Well, it's a lot tougher than I thought it was. But you know what? So am I.
Theo was the blueprint for every big brother on TV after him. His co-stars, producers, and other actors shared their memories too. It was clear Malcolm had left a lasting mark, but one tribute stood out more than all the others. It came from someone unexpected. Jaleel White. You know him as Steve Urkel from Family Matters. He didn't post a press-approved statement or a perfectly crafted tweet. What he shared was raw, honest, and full of emotion. Jaleel's post wasn't flashy. It was a simple black and white photo of him and Malcolm back in the 90s.
I was like the first former child actor that my mother even let me go out with late at night past 11 p.m. And I had a very close relationship with both him and Michelle Thomas. May they both rest in peace. So please remember him as a poet, a Grammy Award-winning musician, and an actor who did a lot more than just star on a sitcom when he was a kid.
They looked young, happy, with their arms over each other's shoulders like real friends. Not just actors posing for the camera. No flashy filters. No attention-grabbing caption. Just words that felt like they came from a place of deep pain. You were the only one who knew what it really felt like to smile for cameras while breaking inside. To carry a show and still feel invisible. I never said thank you enough for being my shelter when I needed it. I still hear your voice telling me to hold on. This one hurts more than anyone will ever know. That wasn't a celebrity tribute. That was a love letter. A goodbye soaked in sadness and regret. Fans immediately reacted. One person commented, "This isn't a tribute. This is heartbreak." Another said,
"The height of the show, when I was a teenager, and people would ask me, well, what's it like, being successful? And even then I said, well, I can't really measure, success with this show. It won't be until I'm 40, 50, 60 years old, having worked consistently as an actor and as a director, will I be able to look back on my career and say, I've been successful." So I feel, now, like, yeah, I'm working consistently. I'm doing the kind of work I want to do. I'm a creative person. I'm a writer, I'm an actor, I'm a director, I'm a musician, I'm a poet. Like, I'm all of that. And I finally got to a place where I've been able to accept all of that, or rather embrace all of that, and really accept the title of being an artist.
This sounds like a man who didn't get to say goodbye. And honestly, they were right. Jaleel White doesn't usually post things like that. He's known for keeping his emotions private. So, for him to pour his heart out like this, it meant something. It told a story most people didn't know. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, Both Malcolm and Jaleel were on top of the world. The Cosby Show and Family Matters were huge. They weren't just TV shows, they were cultural moments. And at the center of those shows were two young black boys who carried a huge weight. Malcolm was Theo, Jaleel was Urkel. Everyone knew their names. Everyone watched their shows. But behind the scenes, fame wasn't easy. They were both very young, carrying adult-sized pressure. Back then, there weren't many support systems for young black actors. It wasn't just about learning lines. It was about handling media, pleasing producers, keeping up ratings and staying perfect. That's where their bond was born. They found each other in the chaos of Hollywood. Award shows, press events, charity campaigns, they crossed paths often, but behind the cameras, they leaned on each other. Late-night phone calls, deep conversations about fear, pressure, and the pain of being seen but not understood. Malcolm was one of the few people who really got Jaleel, and vice versa. When Jaleel was being made fun of for his Urkel character, it was Malcolm who reminded him he was more than a costume and a funny voice. When Malcolm was pouring his soul into music and not getting the recognition he hoped for, Jaleel was the one cheering him on. They weren't just colleagues. They were friends who helped each other stay afloat in an industry that didn't always care about their well-being. But like many close friendships, time started pulling them apart. Not because of a fight, not because someone did something wrong, just life. That slow, quiet distance that sneaks in when you're not paying attention. After the height of their fame, they took different paths. Malcolm stepped away from the spotlight. He moved toward music, poetry, directing things that gave him more control. He wasn't chasing red carpets anymore. He wanted peace and authenticity. Jaleel, on the other hand, was trying to prove he was more than Steve Urkel. The world loved that character, but it was also a trap. Jaleel worked hard to reinvent himself, to be taken seriously in other roles. He did voice acting, guest appearances, and different kinds of work, but no matter how far he tried to go, people kept bringing up Urkel. In the early 2000s, they still stayed in touch. A few texts here and there, an occasional appearance at an event. But the real connection started to fade, the kind where you call just to talk, the kind where you know what's really going on in someone's heart. According to people close to them, there wasn't one single reason why they drifted. Maybe it was Malcolm thinking Jaleel was still stuck chasing something he no longer believed in, or B, it was Jaleel feeling like Malcolm had shut himself off from the world. Either way, the silence between them grew. Then came the last phone call. They hadn't spoken in a while, but after a mutual friend passed away, they both picked up the phone. The conversation was short. They talked about family, about maybe catching up soon. But deep down, both of them probably knew that reunion wouldn't happen. Sometimes we say let's meet up and don't mean it, not because we don't care, but because we don't know how to bridge the gap. That call. That was the last time Jaleel spoke to Malcolm. In his tribute, Jaleel wrote, "I should have called back." That line shattered hearts. It wasn't just guilt, it was regret. Real, painful, lifelong regret. When Malcolm's funeral happened, it wasn't a big public event. There weren't cameras flashing or reporters waiting outside. It was quiet, private, personal. And Jaleel showed up, not as a famous face, but as a grieving friend. He didn't speak. He didn't make a scene. He sat in the back, reportedly keeping to himself. But those who were there said he broke down completely. The pain on his face told a story words couldn't. After the service, Malcolm's sister approached Jaleel. She said something that changed everything. "Malcolm always spoke highly of you. He never had a bad word." In that moment, it felt like some kind of peace was reached. Even though their bond had faded, it was never broken. There was still love, there was still respect, and even in death, that connection found its way back. But the truth is, both of these men had been carrying heavy burdens for years. Malcolm never fully escaped the shadow of Theo Huxtable. He tried everything: live music, theater, directing, but casting directors kept seeing that same teenage boy from the Cosby living room. And when the Cosby scandal hit the news, the legacy of the show became hard to defend. It hurt him deeply. He'd always tried to separate the art from the controversy. But to the public, it didn't matter. The entire cast got caught in the backlash that it silenced him. As for Jaleel, Steve Urkel became more than a character. It became a wall. People laughed with him, sure, but they never saw him, the real him. He couldn't escape the nerdy voice, the suspenders, the catchphrases. No matter what he did, the world kept dragging him back to that one role. People close to both of them said they talked about it often. Not for pity, not for sympathy, just to be understood, just to feel seen, because deep down, all they wanted was to be remembered for who they really were, not just the parts they played on television. In Malcolm's final years, he started stepping away from everything. He stopped showing up at events. He canceled appearances. Friends said he became harder to reach. At first, people thought maybe he just wanted privacy, but then the whispers started about health struggles, depression, isolation. He was missing calls, forgetting birthdays, drifting farther and farther away. And then, the news. Malcolm was found near a private pool in Los Angeles. Authorities said it was drowning. No foul play. No major health condition confirmed. Just an unexpected loss that shook everyone. The details didn't make sense. How could someone so strong, so smart, so grounded, end up like that? That's what made it hurt even more. Because when someone you look up to disappears like that, it makes you realize how fragile everything is. And for Jaleel, it was the final blow. The moment when all the Sundays turned into too late. His tribute wasn't about likes. It wasn't about attention. It was about honesty. About opening his heart and finally saying what had been sitting in his chest for years. And maybe that's what we all need to learn from this. This story isn't just about two actors. It's not just about fame, or childhood nostalgia, or Hollywood. It's about real people, real love, real regret. It's about making that call, reaching out before it's too late. It's about checking in on the people who meant something to us even if it's been years, because the silence, the kind that lasts forever, that's the hardest part to live with. Malcolm-Jamal Warner gave the world more than laughs. He gave us honesty, emotion, depth, and maybe we didn't tell him thank you enough while he was here. But we can. Now, let this be his flowers. His moment, his light. Rest easy, Malcolm. You were more than Theo. You were a voice, a guide, a brother, and you will never be forgotten.